Hi, this is another greenhouse. This is where the hardy cacti are kept. It's a bit untidy, but we have some of the Opuntias, my heating arrangement there with the thermostat, an antique heater that I use, an old Belling black heat. It's a lovely heater. It's got a red coloured lamp in it. When it gets very cold, the old thermostat, which is also an antique almost, comes in and lights it up. So far this year it hasn't been needed. Let's keep fingers crossed that it's going to remain the same. Always keep an eye on the actual temperature. We have a minimum and a maximum. It's not the normal type. It records it on the, I don't know if it's showing up. Yeah, well, it gives the maximum and the minimum. I use the other Fahrenheit. I can't get on with the Celsius or centigrade. Anyhow, I have a very large plant there of Crassula argentea or arborea. It's the penny plant, they call it. It's one that flowers at about Christmas time, and there's nothing spectacular, but we have got a flower there somewhere. There it is. It's one that doesn't do too bad. Last winter it did get nipped a bit, but we put the old double plastic lining stuff on, and it does help. You can see the temperature in there at the moment is about 60. This is because the sun's shining. It's quite nice. Anyhow, we've got some Opuntias. I like Opuntias because they're good plants. They're ones that you can often grow outside. These were plants that I acquired the odd cuttings from here and there. There was a nice place we went to in Italy, and I took a few little pieces. You always take cuttings, which is quite acceptable. It's not stealing, it's acquiring, and it's a way to get the plants around. They're not rare, but there's one there. That was one I think that came from a boot sale over here. It's one of the Opuntias, the flat padded Opuntias. The plant we have down there is Opuntia robusta, which is also supposed to be hardy, but I'd tell a lie. I did see one of these growing outside in England. It was up against a wall, and it was quite tall. It was a large plant. There's a couple of other ones there. Yes, it gives a general idea. I know it's a bit untidy in here. Another one there. We got Opuntia microdaces variety rufida. Rufida means red. And it refers to the little growths on the pad, the areoles. Here I can use the zoom feature. Those pads look nice to handle, but beware. Each little areole has glochids. These are barbed spines which stick into your hand, and they are a hell of a job to get out. So I do warn people that grow these Opuntias, only really found on the Opuntias or the allied genera to Opuntias, tephra and the like. They are glochids, and they are not nice at all. So beware. Most of them have them, if not all of them. The plant out down the bottom there, which I can pick it up, is another one which I believe to be Opuntia compressor. It's a different clone from the two that are in the garden, and this was a plant that I nicked a cutting from when I was in Italy. You just take a little cutting, that's all you need. and it is accepted. Here too we have, which I believe to be Opuntia Santa Rita, or very, very close to that one, or even Opuntia Marneriana. Marneriana was named after the gentleman who started the Grand Marnier drinks company, and he had a fantastic collection in the south of France. I was shown around his collection many, many years ago. It was an honour, complete honour. There are Opuntia Marneriana. The spines are normally curved and twisted. Twisted spines, a beautiful species. The plant at the back was one which came from another boot cell as a small plant. It was one that someone brought back from the Isle of Malta. It's one of the more species found growing in Malta. That one has bloomed, as you can see, has yellow blooms. And in the front, the plant there is Opuntia elata, or coccinifera. This hasn't flowered yet. Hopefully it will next summer. The flowers are supposedly orange. All the Opuntias, they call the Platyopuntias. The Opuntias have got flat pads, a Platyopuntia, and they tend to grow fairly fast. Not all the species grow fast. There is one or two which are a bit slower. We've got one down here which is quite a bit slower, which the name has, I've forgotten what the name is, so there we are. We have a little quiz. What is the name of that Opuntia? I do know it, but I've forgotten it at the time being. It's very convenient, but I have. There's Opuntia linguiforme in the corner. Linguiforme also means tongue-like. So we've got glottiphilum, which means tongue, and linguiform, which means tongue. The Latin and Greek and Latin names have been a great help in the past, particularly when you watch quizzes on TV. The name comes up. It often gives you a clue. Not always, but some cases it does. Anyhow, that's all for this one. We'll go to another greenhouse.
Stays on and works and provides wealth for the economy afterwards. Is it different if somebody is an extremely skilled worker who comes here and contributes to the economy of the country? Do you think it's okay for people to bring a wide range of family members? That's one of the areas where the government is really trying to clamp down, so that you've come into the country, you may not actually be able to be reunited with your family. Bit strange, isn't it, if we believe in family values and yet we don't think that people who have come from abroad should be able to have husbands, wives, parents, children come and join them in the country. What do you think? Give me a call on 0845 60 60 973. Is the government going to meet their target in reducing immigration? And if they did meet it, do you think that would be a good thing?
Right, another greenhouse. Last one in this series, as the other two greenhouses are not in use yet. We come to the main Mesem house. We start off with a pan full of Agyroderma. Agyroderma, translated, means silver skins. As you can see, the coloration is very silvery like. These are also Mesembs from South Africa. They're virtually resting. They have flowered in lots of cases. Group of plants which are always nice and tidy. It's got one there that's still got a flower on it. They're typically purple, white, yellow. They cluster up gradually from like single heads up to twos and threes, fours. They clump up quite well. Problem you have to watch with these, you can, if you suddenly start watering, cause them to split. There's an example there. See whether the actual body has split. My excuse is that this house was set up fairly recently, and moving plants about, they do in fact suffer. Even if they're in the same pans, they suffer. They get used to a particular greenhouse. If you move to another greenhouse, the light levels may be different. Lots of factors come to play, and that was happened on this one. At the back we have mitrophyllums or conophyllums. These are a shrubby mesem. They're coming into growth now. As you can see, they're in good growth. Next to it you've got Monolaria globosa, another mitrophyllum. This one is still having a rest. A few weeks' time, with a bit of water, those closed bodies will open up and the plant will be in active growth. A few allied genera. Those two plants are Muria hortense, possibly one of the most choice mesem to have. They are quite a tricky plant to grow, and up to recently one of our members discovered a way of growing these successfully, and that was to add a few grains of salt to the watering, only a couple of grains, not too much, and it certainly seems to work. We've seen the Gyrodermas. The next group of plants we come to are lithops, stone plants. These are resting, as you can see. Got a nice little clump there of Optica rubra. These have got buds appearing. Whether they will come to anything, I don't know. They do flower this time of the year. The rest have long since flowered, as you can see. They're all covered in old flowers. Lithops are relatively easy to grow, as long as you observe the actual growing times and the resting times. There's, I've got a few more here. Here's a little group of Optica rubra. If they do come into bloom, I can tickle them up and we can get some seed. I find growing in pans, they get free root run, and they seem to do better. There's one of the well-known ones, Lithops otzeniana, Lithops marmorata, another one of otzeniana. That looks like Hawley-eye, Lithops Hawley-eye. And lo and behold, another otzeniana. Beautiful plants, the otzeniana. Some of them are sort of blushed over with pink. We've got one here. Here we are. See if I can bring it. There is it. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. There it is. This one's one of the hybrids, named after the god of wine, Bacchus. Lithops salicola form Bacchus. Tends to be a tall growing species, but nevertheless it's one of the other cultivars that are going about. I tend not to grow the other cultivars, but they do creep in occasionally. There's so many of the true species, it's there's, you know, just so many plants. These plants at the back are in full growth. They're Myriophytum mayeri. A little diformed mesem. Both name commemorates the same person. It was a Pastor G. Mayer, who came from the Cape. Myriophytum mayeri. It's unusual. We don't often get that, where both names refer to the same person. We have another mitrophyllum. This is in full active growth. So named because the divided tip on the growths, if I can get one to show you. Let's get a good example. One there. There we are. If you imagine the bishop's mitre hat, the mitre hat that the bishop wears, that's where that got its name from. Mitrophyllum, or sometimes called conophyllum. Pan here of Dinteranthus. Dinter was named after Kurt Dinter, early botanist who worked in the Cape. These plants are allied to lithops, characterised by very, very fine seed. Germination of seed can be tricky with these. I find they're not easy to germinate. Giving them high humidity during germination seems to help. Also high temperatures, but drop the temperatures at night. So it'd be hot during the day and cold at night. That sometimes gets them into growth. That's Dinteranthus vanzylii. These are all vanzyliis. They're fairly variable. The odd one there looks like Dinteranthus inexpectatus. It's very close to Pole Evansii, but I haven't got Pole Evansii at the moment. So I think that's Dinteranthus inexpectatus. Some of the names have been changed. So, you know, I'm giving you the names I remember them by. There's some more vanzyliis. A large clump of inexpectatus. Dinteranthus williamatanus. Probably a Pabrulus. Always liked Dinteranthus. I think I've covered all of them in this pen. Still with the Dinteranthus. These are all ones I raised from seed. More Dinteranthus inexpectatus. Seed is obtainable from Stephen Hammer in America, Messer Gardens in America, the Mesembs study group, they do seed distribution each year, and other various seed sources. Most of the seed will grow quite readily. Some seed you'll have difficulty getting a hold of. Muria seed is like gold dust. It just doesn't seem to appear. I'll move one of those out of the way. These are all had their blooms and are going into the resting period. When you can note the outer leaf pair is absorbed by the new body within the old. And this is how they grow. This is the same, and this is when they double up as well. That was 2 heads, it's now going to be 4 heads. All species of Dinteranthus, from little baby ones these ones I'm going to have a job to reaching, because the floor, as you'll see, is covered in plants that are brought in from summer plunging. Here we have a selection of different ones. We've got, that's a Lapidaria margaritae. It's a mesem which is normal by having more than the single pair of leaves. If we look at these ones clustering up, that's in the resting state. It would normally just have the 1 leaf pair. But Dinteranthus have more. That is quite normal for those. They're very close to the Dinteranthus genus. But these are Lapidarias, Lapidaria margaritae. Another one there, smaller one. That's a Lithops. Some more Lithops. The coloration of Lithops is quite wide. It's quite a wide variety of coloration. Ones at the end I'm going to have to stretch across because the floor is covered. I can't get over there. So I'm going to have to zoom in on some of these. These plants are Gibaeums. Gibaeum browniais. The ones at the front are Gibaeum heathii, named after Mr. Heath, who was a keen amateur collector many years ago. Some more shrubby plants at the back. That looks like Eucopsenia colbii, but I may be wrong. It looks a bit like it, but I'm not 100% certain. So if I'm wrong, someone can correct me. Coming a bit closer, we have one of the favourites, Plosopilus or Plosopilus Nelli. That was named after Gert Cornelius Nell, who was one of the early collectors and people working in South Africa with this group of plants. GC Nell, it's Nelli, Plosopilus Nelli. You can see the flowers bud in the middle and the old buds, the old capsule containing the seeds at the outer. Very close species to this is Plosopilus bolusii, and that was named after Louise Bolus, who also worked in South Africa. So whenever I see these, I'm always reminded of the early workers on these plants.